Hello, all, and welcome back to a new episode of TV and Us, a conversation show about the TV series we just can't stop talking about. My name is Jennifer Hahn.
And I'm Sarah Callan.
And each season we focus on a different show, reviewing it episode by episode, and we invite you to watch along with us. Right now, we are reviewing The Sopranos Season 2, and today we are on Episode 8, titled Full Leather Jacket. If you haven't watched this episode yet, this is your spoiler alert. Go watch it, come back, listen to the rest of our conversation. So, Sarah, summary for this 8th episode of the season.
Carmela seeks a college recommendation for Meadow. Richie tries to cement his status with a trophy leather jacket for Tony, while two overeager associates look for a chance to prove themselves.
This episode's so dramatic.
There's so much very dramatic.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's dive in soon. But first, episode titles. What is your choice for Sopranos Episode 8?
My choice is Focus.
Oh, yeah. Some characters are focusing on things they should not be focusing on as well. So,
yes.
Yikes.
A lot of people are focusing on a lot of things. Some of them are not great, though.
Not good. My episode title is Rocco. Yep. Okay. Yep. Gosh, where do we begin with this episode? Start us off. Like, what are your thoughts about episode 8?
Yeah. This, as with every episode of The Sopranos, there is a lot to talk about in this one. And it's interesting how this show is always weaving things together, because we haven't heard about Beansy in a few episodes, and now he is back and is a central focus of this one. And so I really appreciate the way that this show understands how many players are involved and how many characters they are constantly juggling, and when to bring somebody back in and when they can go, kind of in the background. So the previous episode was a very AJ focused episode, and I don't think we see him at all in this one. And it's a very Meadow focused episode. So I love the way that this show doesn't just camp out with one or two characters, but is constantly reminding us who is in this orbit, what they are up to, and everybody is constantly progressing, but we don't always need to know where they are on their journey, and we'll check back in with them when it's the right time. And so I don't know, I'm really appreciating the way that the show is balancing all of these. There's a ton of characters in this show, and they're able to balance them all really well.
Yeah, a great example of that is Salvatore is kind of the end of the previous episode. What is Salvatore going to do? And we kind of have to wait a little bit to see how he's processing everything that happened and whether he has chosen a different path or not. We pick up with him a little bit later. And so, yeah, all these characters are making moves, but we don't need to see every step of the way. We kind of pick up with them every 2 to 4 steps that they make. So there's some really interesting insinuations of Junior and Richie and them solidifying clearly more of their partnership and relationship, but we don't almost need to see all of those conversations along the way. Well, a lot happens in this episode. Gosh, the elephant in the room is our boy Christopher not taken out, I would say, taken into coma by the end of the episode. And I think what's interesting is that this episode ends with not a shot of Christopher in the coma, but of Tony asking himself essentially how did we get here? How could this happen? I think he specifically says. And I think that's interesting because the show knows that we are invested ultimately in our key protagonist, which is Tony, and Christopher, who's been like a son to him, that he's cared for so deeply, being in so much danger and him not having been aware of it. How will he react with anger and rage and vengeance, but also with that, there's the guilt and the feeling of inadequacy, of having failed in some way to protect his own. And so I think there's this like, interesting thing hanging in the balance for Tony as a character of how is he going to process this really big thing that's happened to him.
Yes, that is the question. The other question that I had is whose hand is on Tony's shoulder when they're in there? Because we don't see
Oh.
who the hand belongs to. My first thought was it's Junior, but then I wondered, could that in some like weird universe be Richie?
Mm,
And we don't know. We see a lot of his other like crew members in the background, but we don't see who is the owner of the hand. And so that was something that I was hyper fixated on because I get fixated on little
interesting.
details. So
Yeah.
I'm just curious if the show's going to reveal who that was. I mean, why frame it that way if you're like deliberately not going to show us the owner of the hand and not reveal it? So I'm curious who that person is because
Mm,
that's such a um I don't know, that's such a like intimate thing to do. You know, Tony is grieving. He's in this moment of heartbreak and somebody is close enough to him to put their hand on his shoulder in this like comforting kind of way. Like who is that person for Tony? So I'm curious to see how his support system will come around him and help him. Obviously they're going to take care of Christopher, but it's going to be really interesting to see how Tony responds. We see Richie's response when he finds out, but his
yeah.
response is more about self-protection than anything else. So how is Tony going to respond when somebody that he genuinely cares for is has been shot and you know, all of the rules
Yeah.
of honor just thrown out the window. So we'll see. Woo! I'm nervous and excited to watch what comes next.
Yeah, yeah. And how will this also stoke the inevitable showdown between Tony, Richie, Junior? Because what Richie was most worried about is that this is going to get pinned on him as an inciting incident for the full on conflict between them. Um, he's so angry because he's like, they're going to think that I did this, that I uh, orchestrated this hit, and that's not what happened. The truth doesn't matter. It's all about perception. And will Tony interpret this as an act of war from Richie and presumably Junior as well, or will the bonds of family ultimately triumph? I don't think so, but you never know. And
Yeah, we'll
especially
see.
when someone's hurt someone you love, sometimes it doesn't even matter who's responsible. You just want to take it
Hmm.
out on somebody.
Yeah.
And how will that rage overflow in Tony, where he knows it might not be Richie, but like Richie is the easiest way to like let out all of these emotions that I'm sure he's experiencing, that he has nowhere to channel them. So Richie's the one to receive it.
Yeah, and who's going to be the collateral damage too, you know?
Yeah.
Cuz whenever feuds start, it doesn't really matter why they start, but people will be hurt. So who's going to be harmed because of this? Because of
Yeah.
these two goobers. Oh my gosh, they're the worst. Ugh.
Well, and that's what I kind of, if that is where this is going to go, it's a detail that I kind of love that
Yes.
the Sopranos have written into this, which is that this whole big bloody war that might ensue is started by just like two people that were absolute idiots, and that's what's responsible. Like it actually,
Mhm.
in the previous episodes, I've been saying, "Oh, I want a really great scheme from Richie and Junior, and have them really like because of their raw ambition, they want to take over." And I kind of love the idea that The Sopranos might flip the script on that and say, "No, it's actually just two people who are kind of dumb," and then this huge conflict is going to happen in the same way that it would with a big, schemy, ambitious takeover. But that's actually not the origin of this at all. It's just the unfortunate accidents of
Mhm.
stupid people being in the wrong place, making the wrong move, and this is the nature of conflict in society and human civilization and history. Like I kind of love the the idea of that. So I hope that they do that. I would love to see a big juicy schemy moment,
Mhm.
but I don't know. I could see the Sopranos being like, actually, in reality, this is a lot of times how it happens.
Yeah, yeah, and I love the contrast too between these 2 goobers who, they have ambition, they want to be known by
Yeah.
Tony, Richie Jr., everybody, um, and they go about it the wrong way. Whereas,
Yeah.
for the previous, 1.5 seasons, we've seen people like Christopher, like Tony, who are ambitious and are acting on that, but they're doing it in a more strategic, more methodical way.
Hmm.
Even Christopher's like haphazard stuff
Yeah.
is still more methodical and more, in some ways, honorable than obviously these 2 goobers who don't understand this world, who don't understand this family, who don't know the rules. And so they're out here just making terrible decisions that ultimately will cost both of them their lives. Like, there's no way
Yeah.
that the remaining goober will make it out of this alive. So uh, it's so interesting, though, contrasting the two, because Christopher thus far has seemed like a loose cannon, and he
Hmm.
is in a lot of ways. And then you see these 2 guys and what they do, and you're like, "Oh my gosh, how is Christopher the tame, sane, responsible one in this equation?"
Yeah. Yeah. It's like the ambition is there. The ambition paired with intelligence, different outcome, and we're seeing the emotional intelligence and the strategic intelligence of Tony and Polly and Salvatore, Christopher Junior, Reggie, and like that contrast between like that undirected, misguided ambition is almost even more dangerous. The loose cannons, yeah, it's rough. Um, cause a lot of chaos. Okay, another thing we have to talk about is I feel the rise of Carmela is quickening. We've got to talk about Carmela because this is what I've been waiting for. It's terribly unethical. It's very bad, but she has an agenda. She's got conviction about it. She understands her power. She understands the game board and is playing her hand to a T time and time again. Uh, it's fascinating to see. I think what's most interesting actually in this episode is it's fascinating to see her guilt and her conscience kick in. And then ultimately, the conscience is squashed by the end, and she's like, it's fine. We're just going to do what we need to do. Because I thought that the short shot where she goes back to get the envelope out of the trash can is significant. She knows this is not right. Her Catholic spirit inside is like, this is not very good. But ultimately, by the end of the episode, she chooses to do the unethical thing for her own gain, even despite her awareness of the conscience. So she's not devoid, she's not deluded and naive into thinking that this is fine and this is ethical. She's aware and she still chooses the path that she does. And I think that makes her choices in this episode far more interesting than if the show had painted her as just blindly and naively taking this path and thinking that this was all good and fine. No, she knows. She knows what's up.
Oh, she absolutely knows. And the way that uses she uses other people's fear to get what she wants, I think is really interesting, because she knows that she's the wife of Tony Soprano, and the fear that that sparks in people like her neighbors.
Yeah.
And she's like, well, this is something that I can use, so I'm going to use it. So I think that that is also really interesting, that she isn't the one that creates fear, but she knows that it exists in other people and is able to wield that really
Mm.
strategically. Um, I'm also just really curious. I when I was watching, I thought that the sisters just lied, and Carmela actually didn't get what she wanted. So I'm
Yeah.
curious to see if if we'll get, the final part of this story and
Mm,
learn if a recommendation letter was ever written, because I read it as, nope, they lied to you just to get you to go away. So it'll be
I
curious to
agree. Yeah.
see if we learn what happens and then how Carmela will respond, um, if that indeed was a lie.
And if Carmela's onto them enough to also outpace them in
Yeah.
making sure that she gets what she wants, because she
Yep.
asked for a copy at the end. And so she knows
Mhm.
their word cannot be trusted. Likelihood to lie is there. But will she believe the copy that she receives, which could be forged, could be just a fake copy or whatnot? Like, how far will she also go to find out if they did what they should have done, or they're saying that they've done, or how much will she believe and trust in them as well? That is all up, up still open questions for her too. Yeah, and how will this experience, her taste of power that she is like indulging in, either cause her to shrink back from it out of fear, or her conscience will finally catch up to her the way that it might for Salvatore, or will her taste of power and influence cause her to desire more and more of it? Like, will she start to just be a menace in every area of her life so that she can finally get what she wants? I think it's really important that the show has spent so much time showcasing how much she is suppressed, how much she has forgotten, how much she has silenced by everyone in her life, not just Tony, but also her children who like don't respect her and question her all the time, and how much that constant suppression will cause her to like come out swinging and wielding agency in every area, because she's just had it. She's just had enough. I think that'll be interesting to see too.
Yeah, did Carmela just create herself into a monster, you know?
Yeah,
Oh, man. Oh,
from
I'm so here
yielding
for
too
it.
long and
Yes. Yeah.
be having just, had enough of it.
Yep. Then you just explode. There's a breaking point. You can only take so much. So we'll see what happens
You
with Carmela. But
explode,
this is
or you become mafia head wife, and just run the ship as well. I don't know how Tony's gonna feel about that, but it's a fun idea.
oh man. It would be
Like,
interesting though, especially now like Tony is in such a vulnerable state, his I don't even know what to call Christopher, but his almost son is has been shot, is very grievously wounded. I mean, this is the
yeah.
perfect time for the rise of Carmela. She can just swoop right on in there and keep running the show behind his back.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Oh,
While
that'd be
Tony
awesome.
devolves,
Yeah.
into chaos, someone's got to run the ship. And it begs the question, like, Livia clearly is so strategic and mindful of
Mhm.
this, and how much did she start more similarly to Carmela, and just ultimately had enough, and then was like, well, let's figure out how to run this show and play everyone like a fiddle around me. So I don't know. We'll see what the show does with her, but
Mhm.
this is a very interesting episode for our Rise of Carmela plot that we've been waiting for and wanting. We'll see how much more we get of it.
Yes. Yes, we see her using her powers. So,
Mhm.
more of that, please.
Speaking of another female character, we see Adriana take Christopher back. I think this is a fascinating plot line, because she has been, like we've said, the one person in his life that truly does see his potential, does believe in him. You could argue maybe Tony is like right up there as well, but um, I think it's fascinating to see that she time and time again will choose him, and what happens to her next, I think, will be interesting for the show as well. All these peripheral characters that the show doesn't forget about and has full narrative arcs for them. And Adrienne, I think, is one of them too.
Yeah. I mean, she was always going to go back with Christopher, and the whole
I know.
time I was just like, "Ah, my girl. We could do better. You can do better than him." But
Yeah.
it does make for a more interesting show, especially given the things that Christopher said about her too. When he's talking to the goobers, he says, "She loves me, and these are her childbearing years." And so, like, it's like, okay, is this just like he's trying to be macho with these two idiots? Or is that actually how he feels? So I think some of the things that Christopher says when Adriana is not there is also really interesting. So I'm curious to see where they go with that relationship, because she's obviously way more into him than he is into her.
Yeah.
She's way more capable of, I feel like, emotional connection and health than Christopher is. But now he is grievously wounded. So, uh, how is that going to derail literally everything? So, I
Yeah.
think it's very interesting that they get engaged and then a few minutes later in the episode, he's in the hospital. So, where will we go from here?
Where will we go from here? Yeah, yeah. We shall see what's next for Christopher and how this changes him. I mean, these things like this always change you significantly in some way, for good or for bad. So how will this clarify what Christopher really can commit to and wants to be about and live his life differently? Or I don't know. You get more dependent on things or the frustration of your body not responding the same way. I don't know. It's just gonna be so interesting to see what what this does for Christopher, who is already, like we're saying, in this pendulum swinging back and forth into many extremes, kind of headed down a wrong path. And will this accelerate his devolving into that like unhealthy headspace, or will this actually change course for him and help him be a little bit, maybe I don't know, a little bit of a redemptive arc? We'll see. Okay, another character, Richie. Oh, Richie. Tell
Oh,
me your thoughts about Richie
Richie.
in this
God,
episode.
he's just so terrifying. Like, he's so scary. He'll just be like standing there, not doing anything. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm terrified of Richie. Yeah, I have so many questions about this jacket, because the way that Richie kept like making such a big deal about it, I was like, is this some like, at first I thought he was almost like pulling a prank on Tony and like Junior was in on it, because he just kept being like, the jacket. Like he said it so many times and kept like really emphasizing it. I'm like, are you trying to like punk Tony? What's going on here? I don't understand what this is about the jacket. Um, and then obviously at the end, Richie seeing the maid's
So good.
husband wearing the jacket. It was like, oh, okay, maybe this wasn't a prank. And and now this is really scary because Richie knows and is a scary person. So I love how this show, episode 3, we meet Richie. He has this big confrontation with Tony. And then ever since, we've just had little confrontations between Richie and Tony all throughout. And you know that there's a big confrontation coming. We just don't know when, but all of these little things keep piling up and adding on top of it. And I am nervous for what's going to happen because Richie is a scary dude. So, oh, it's going to be such good TV, but I'm going to be stressed while watching that episode.
Richie's a menace. You know, it's interesting that whole jacket business with the maid's husband parading it through the home. I wondered if it was Tony's, if it was all planned with Tony, maybe Carmela's on it too, to get under Richie's skin so that Richie makes the first move and then Tony can squash it versus like Tony basically needing a reason or does not want to be the first one to like take a hit after someone in your own family. And so I wondered if he was like trying to use Richie's volatility and his pride and his ego to like basically coax him to make the first move so that from a pure perspective, Tony's like, look, I'm just responding because he crossed the line versus Tony having to proactively be the one to make the first move and not looking bad or looking unethical or breaking the code some way that they have within the family. It's kind of like, politically, like countries use some reason publicly for a narrative to be able to justify entering into a conflict or intervening in some way. It's like they need Tony needs something to justify him taking out the thread, but he's keeping an eye on it the whole time and trying to just like continue to coax and get under Richie's skin because he knows he's a loose cannon and he's gonna make the wrong move again. He just needs to get him to do it at the right time. I don't know if that they're scheming to the point of like orchestrating the walkthrough of the guy at the perfect time, but there's something about the way that Carmela is also like, oh, hello, Richie. Just like she's playing along with it the whole
Yeah.
time. And
Yeah.
when earlier in the episode, Richie and Janice are over for dinner, there's this whole conversation that Tony and Carmela have around like, we're keeping them close because we need to collect information and watch them and watch their every move. And they both were like so aligned on that plan that I was like, oh, I wonder if this is some really genius scheming happening to incite Richie to just blow up in some way. And there we go. We're off to the races, the conflict.
Jacket. Yep, that'll do it. Jacket betrayal. That'll set him off every time.
And it worked. You saw Richie's
He
face
was so angry.
absolutely fuming inside. He's like, oh, no, I don't feel so good. I gotta go. Oh,
Oh,
the
terrifying.
ego, the disrespect. Ooh,
Mm-hmm.
so good. All right. Any other last big things that we wanted to mention before we give out some TVNS awards?
I do want to talk about Janice for just a hot second
Okay.
because she is just such an interesting character to me. And Janice that we see in this episode is so different from the Janice that we met in the first episode. In this episode, she has straightened her hair. She's wearing more makeup. Her clothes are very different than what she was wearing before. So, like,
Hmm.
Janice has undergone a little transformation over the last few episodes. And I find that very interesting that now she's not trying to be separate from the family and she's not, because the way that she was dressing, the way that she was acting, even changing her name, all of that is distancing herself from this family and from this world and having a
Yeah.
very clear delineation. I am not a part of this. But in this episode, she very much fits the part. And I am fascinated by that. Janice is such an agent of chaos, and now she's trying to be part of this family. And I'm very excited to see what the show does with that because that is a fantastic recipe for madness, and I'm here for it.
And similarly to Livia, like we don't know yet what Janice is scheming. We don't know what she's planning, why she's here, why she's still here, but she's got a plan and she's going to execute it. And she's just the type to play the long game, the slow burn, to weasel her way back into favor, to win power, to win money. Yeah. Talk about ambition plus intelligence. The apple does not fall far from the tree with that one.
Honestly, though, it's some good stuff. So I'm excited for whatever they're doing with Janice.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right, TVNS Awards. The first category is most family oriented. What is your choice for this one?
Okay, I want to give it to Adriana's mom for trying to keep her daughter away from Christopher. I was like, ma'am, you are putting up a valiant effort, and I respect it and I appreciate it.
And it doesn't work.
Doesn't work.
Doesn't work.
It was never going to work, but you got to try. And I
It's so
appreciate the
painful to
attempt.
watch. It's
It
so
is
painful
really
to watch.
painful to watch. Oh,
Oh,
gosh.
yeah.
Oh.
Just a big shiny ring will do it. Like, okay. My choice for most family oriented is Richie for his respect for the sacred DeMeo jacket. He treats it like it's a relic, a sacred relic. It's so funny.
And that's why I was so confused. I was like, I don't
It's a bit.
understand why this jacket is such a big deal. Why are you
Like, is
so
Homeboy doing a
obsessed?
bit?
I thought so. I was like,
Yeah.
man, maybe this is some weird like mob punking that I'm just not aware of.
Mm-hmm. And Tony handles it well. Tony does
He
not
does.
entertain the idea of it at all. He's just like, okay, thank you, respectfully, thank you.
Yeah.
Very polite. As Carmela tells him, I'm very proud of you for your behavior out there.
Oh, it was so good.
Most explosive moment. What is your choice for this one?
I'm going to go with Richie discovering that Tony gave away the magical jacket.
Mm, yeah, terrifying.
Yeah.
Terrifying. Those eyes. That
Man,
actor did an incredible job.
yes. I am terrified every time.
Hmm. But I'm also so amused watching him get riled up. Like, I'm not gonna lie.
Yes. I'm having a great time and I'm also scared. Like, this is my version of a horror movie, basically, is watching Richie April. I'm
Stop.
scared the whole
Stop.
time and I'm very entertained.
I love in the scene with the two goobers,
Mhm.
he does not turn around to face them to talk to them. It's so bad.
Why should he? Why should I deign to look upon your faces, you stupid goobers?
No, just let me smoke my cigarette and like you can hear my voice. That's plenty for you for today. So good.
Oh, it's great.
Okay, most explosive moment. I have to go with the two goobers trying to take out Christopher. That was
Mhm.
shocking. I was just as shocked as Christopher was to see that happen. The Sopranos does a great job too of just like throwing us right into the scene. Like we don't get like a
Mhm.
dramatic build up. We don't get the walk
Nope.
up. It's just hey, boom. Oh, okay. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, we're
Now
doing this now. Okay.
he's sitting in a pool of his own blood. This is really bad. Really bad. Okay, double meaning dialogue. What is your choice for this one?
So I want to give this to Carmela, who says to Tony, "That's what we mean when we say family."
Very good. I loved that moment.
Oh, so
I
good.
loved it. Carmela is so with it. She's so with it.
Mhm.
Come on, Rise of Carmela, please. Okay, I have to give this to Richie. He has a lot in every episode, but
Mhm.
it's when he goes to visit Beansy
Oh
at the
god.
doctor's office and he says to the nurse, oh, no, he's so proud he won't accept some friendly concern.
I was so stressed in that scene. I was like, "Oh no. I want the nurse to stay, but I also don't want the nurse to stay because then she might get hurt too." Ugh, terrifying.
He's gonna put his arms where his legs are.
What a threat, man. That was great.
It's very good. The quietness, I would be trembling.
Yep, me too.
All right, looking ahead, what are you excited to see next?
Yeah, Rise of Carmela always.
Yes.
I would like to know who owns the hand that's resting on Tony's shoulder. Obviously, we want to see what happens with Christopher. And Livia's not in this episode, and so I would like to see our girl. I don't know if they're in the same hospital, but that would be really convenient, and would make for some great Tony potentially having to confront his mother, who is dead to him moments. So,
Oh,
uh, yeah, I think that's what's on the top of my list.
very good. Yeah, like a hospital scene, a run in
Hmm.
by accident, a stare down.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. Or orchestrated by some meddlers like Junior who want Tony to talk to his mom. Either way, I'm good.
Yes, yes. Junior's up to something. The way that Junior did the like side look gaze when Richie was giving Tony the jacket, I'm like, he's plotting. He's plotting. I am still invested in Salvatore's plot, just that whole storyline. I want to know what he's thinking, what he's feeling, the remorse. Will he change course? Will he stay the course? Rise of Carmela always. I am fascinated to see what Tony's response is now that the game board essentially shifted quite clearly, and the truth is not the truth about Richie planning this plot against one of Richie's like nearest and dearest, or sorry, one of Tony's nearest and dearest. But I wonder how much that will matter or not matter at all. So there's a lot of danger brewing, and I'm just waiting for shit to hit the fan. Like I there's so much tension in all areas. There's so much multiple instances of disrespect between Richie and Tony that they both perceive of each other. And it just feels like when you're boiling a pot of water and that it's right at the brim of the surface and it's about to spill over. And I feel like we're at that moment right now. It's also the right time in the season. for things to start to heat up as well. We're at episode 8 out of 13, so we're nearing the juicy stuff. So I'm just excited to see more of this plot unfold and seeing how characters will react differently than we expected to. Some surprises too. Will be great. All right. Well, this was our review and discussion of Season 2, Episode 8. You can find it available on HBO Max. Thank you for listening to this episode of TV and Us. Our name sums it up. We're big fans of TV and the powerful ways we can connect with each other and the world around us. This podcast is about all of us in our shared stories, so everyone is welcome here, and we're so glad you spent time with us today as we continued our journey through The Sopranos Season 2. You can subscribe to this podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you tune to your favorite shows. Drop us a rating and review, letting us know your thoughts about Episode 8. You can connect with us on Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky at tvnspod, or email us at tvnspod@gmail.com. Check out our website, andusmedia.co, for the latest on TV and Us and our other podcast, Movies and Us. We are part of the Movie Archer Podcast Network, so check out Sarah's sweatshirt. Very cool if you're watching the YouTubes on video or on Spotify. Check out moviearcher.com to learn more. We'll be back very soon to discuss episode 9. We hope you have an amazing week, and we'll talk again with y'all very soon.